Jessica.
Dude, Aaron.
Thanks for coming.
What an honor. I honestly feel like I'm in a dream that I'm sitting in front of you right now on your show. I've obviously been a big fan of yours forever, but I'm actually going to have a conversation with you. So hopefully I can keep up with your brain.
You're reversing the roles. I'm supposed to be showering accolades on you for coming.
Okay. Sorry, my bad.
I appreciate that. And so, obviously I love the work that you're doing, trying to fight for those who've been affected by these products. And I saw this clip, and that's what prompted me to go, I got to have you on and talk about this.
You saw it too, huh?
I did. I saw this clip and it made me laugh. And I just I've watched it like 3 times, and every time I laugh harder. Each time I watch it, I'm just like cracking up. So, obviously you were, just to set it up for folks, you were in the Pussycat Dolls. You were a member of the band playing in front of, what's the biggest audience you ever played in front of?
1 million.
1 million people.
Mm-hmm.
Live,
yeah. It was like a live Earth sort of thing. Yeah, it was close to 1 million people. It was massive, yeah.
Where was that?
In England, yeah.
In one forum?
It was like, it was in one forum, and then obviously the TV and stuff, but it was the biggest, largest audience I've ever performed in front of. I was nervous, so I had to make everyone, they weren't people anymore, they were just blocks of like shapes. Just shapes of people.
So big.
It's so big.
Holy cow.
It was pretty cool though. And I had just started doing dance music at the time. And someone was holding up my name with my new single, like, Jessica Sutta, White Lies.
What year was this?
This was in 2005, I believe, 2006.
Our 1 million people. So, and Pussycat Dolls playing for it. And at some point, band broke up.
Right.
And now they're getting back together. Let's just play the clip. Can we get it on the screen here and play it?
As you probably know, some former members of the Pussycat Dolls, they made some headlines recently after they found out that you guys were coming back as a trio, not as the original group. How did you arrive at that decision?
Well, I mean, listen, we are so, as women today.
I mean, it has been an ever-changing lineup, and this is what it looks like now in 2026. And you never know what comes next. And I think ultimately we've got to protect our peace. And when something like the Pussycat Dolls has so much history, we have ruptured in the past. And right now we are repairing. And we're sort of on the same page with that.
You would think she'd have an answer, right? I mean, there was a big elephant in the room.
She did say, to be fair, we as women,
right?
She did say today,
that's
as
good.
Opposed to a different point in time,
right,
and something about peace.
Yes, yes. Well, which I find very funny because these girls talk about protecting their peace. I would probably say it's more protect their piece of profit as opposed to the PEACE. Because here's the thing, we live in a world where propaganda just fills the minds of so many. And I haven't gotten many support, like publicly, about my vaccine injury. Okay. None of these girls have ever reached out to say, hey, are you okay? Are you feeling okay? And interestingly enough, when they announced this tour, maybe the girls didn't know, but in my public statement, I did disclose my mother passed away like 9 months ago. Not one condolence from them at all either. So I don't know what piece they're trying to protect. But I definitely need to protect mine.
How long did you guys work together?
We were together as a band for 7 years, but on and off for about 24.
24 years.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I assume you developed some close relationships in that period of time. I don't know.
We called each other sisters. We're the sisterhood. We love each other. No, we don't. And that's the thing with Hollywood. That's just the way it goes. And I'm not trying to come from like a bitter place. I'm coming from a very sarcastic place. You know what I mean? But these girls are very interesting characters.
So why do you think you weren't included?
It has a lot to do with the fact that I came out about my injury publicly, which is a no-no. In Hollywood, it is like so wrong to speak the truth. It does not come across very well. It's propaganda.
You think they excluded you because you've been public about your COVID-19 vaccine injury?
Absolutely. I believe that has a lot to do with it because there wasn't even a phone call like, hey, we're doing this. And they didn't give me the opportunity to say, oh, I wish you the best. Thank you. I will not. I decline. Okay. It was never an opportunity. Even my bandmate Carmit, they never even called her either. They
Right.
just kind of allowed this to happen publicly, and we weren't given a heads up.
Why do you think they excluded her?
I think, to be really honest with you, I think both of us we're uncontrollable. We speak our mind and we know what's true and what's good in life. And I just think we weren't moldable. We weren't dolls anymore. Can't control us. And I think that was a big part of it. I mean, in my opinion.
So the two of you were part of the Pussycat Dolls, right?
Right. Yeah.
I mean, I don't know who owns the titles and rights, whatever, but it'd be kind of funny if there were two Pussycat Dolls, Pussycat Dolls bands.
True.
One with 3 and one with 2 of you.
I think I've hung up my Pussycat Doll life. Thank you very much. It's been good. I am in my 40s. I don't want to break a hip or anything. You know what I'm saying? No, but it felt really weird. In 2019, we did get back together. And we did a reunion sort of tour for about 6 months. And
in what year?
It was in 2019.
19.
COVID.
And the 5 of you did that.
There was 5 of us.
Okay.
Yeah. And it was interesting because it was very exciting to go back. The nostalgia and the reason why we broke up was forgotten. And we get to set and it starts kind of flowing in a beautiful way. And then very quickly it turned very sour. And something that became what used to be so very empowering to me was so incredibly degrading. Because let me tell you why. Our microphones completely off.
In 2019?
Yes. When we had a successful tour and a label and money, we had a sound guy. So microphones were on. It was blended, but it was never off. This particular case, it was off. So we were at a show at GAY in London, and I went to introduce myself, and no one knew I was speaking because my microphone wasn't on.
You just lip syncing the whole time.
Yeah, and for me, take away my microphone. If I'm just going to be a dancer, it's all good. I don't want to live a lie. I don't want to do that. That's how Hollywood is, you know? So yeah, I mean, as much as I love the experience, I outgrew it. So I knew it was time to go.
Why'd the band break up before 2019?
So we had a song called J-Ho. I don't know if you remember that. It was...
if you sing it, I might.
Oh, gosh. I can't... It's an Indian song, and Nicole was the lead singer on this. And this is when the group was breaking up. It was Nicole Scherzinger and the Pussycat Dolls. And that's when it ended for all of us. Because when we were... when I started in the Pussycat Dolls in 2003, it was a cast of 50 girls. And then Interscope came in, and they didn't know what to do with all of us. So it was basically an audition for a year. So it went down 50 to 20 to 10 to 6 girls. So it was a magnificent achievement to get it. So it was great. And what they would promise us is, Nicole is the best singer, and she was. She's gonna be the quarterback, and you guys are the teammates. We're gonna let her lead, and then slowly the camera is gonna open up. We're gonna get to know all of you individually. You're gonna sing. You're gonna blah 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 blah. And it did not go that way. It actually went the far opposite. And at the time, we were all really famous, big egos. It just wasn't really vibing with us anymore. So that's a big reason why we broke up.
Became more Nicole centric was the idea.
It was her world. We were just living in it. And I'm not saying she wasn't a magnificent singer. She is. She's a Tony Award winning singer. She's incredible. But everyone else had something very special that I think they missed out on. I really do.
All right. So what year did it break up?
In 2008.
So that was 2008. And then you tried to get back to 2019,
right.
And then it kind of fell apart again.
It fell apart real bad.
Yeah.
It got to the point where Nicole was not respecting us, that she didn't email us to tell us that the tour was canceled. We found out on social media. So when this happened, again...
Found out.
That's when I was like, hold on. And I sent it to you. I was like, Aaron...
Have you had any communications with them?
No, not anymore. No.
Zero. When's the last time?
2019.
Or when it broke up?
Yeah. Kimberly did reach out to me after this all went down, and she's like, I feel like it's respectful for me to reach out to you now. And I was like, no, honey. I was like, it would have been respectful if you reached out to me,
before.
When we knew this was happening, so I could prepare myself, because my injury is neurological, so stress triggers this pain in my rib cage. So. Not that I need to be coddled or a baby. I just want to turn my social media off. I want to make sure I have a team in place that will make sure that I have a good statement. They did not allow that to happen because I think they wanted to blindside us. So
do you think, it sounds like there's, like you see in the movies, a lot of drama.
Oh, yes.
And, but that kind of, I'm guessing that comes with the territory in Hollywood and the music industry and so forth. So that alone is not, that That happens.
Right.
And I suspect even the three young ladies or the three women, I should say, I assume they had their own differences at points. Would that be fair? I don't know.
What do you mean?
The current three who decided to reconstitute the Pussycat Dolls.
Yeah.
Did they ever have, little infighting amongst themselves as well?
Oh, yes. Oh my gosh.
So infighting alone is not really a reason. Do you think that, had it not been for your COVID-19 vaccine injury, your outspokenness about it, that you would have been invited back this time around?
I think I would have had at least a conversation with them.
They would have called you, you think?
100%. Because for me, though, I'm the tinfoil hat lady. Right?
Now, you mean now?
Now.
But you weren't like that. I mean, they wouldn't have thought of you that way in 2019.
No, I was a Holly weirdo back then.
What does that mean?
I was just like...
What does that mean? What's a Holly weirdo?
And I didn't realize how weird Hollywood was until I got out of it. And I'm like, damn, that was us, But I think I was just compliant with everything that was going on in the world. I believed in mainstream media. I had no idea about vaccine injury. I thought vaccines were life-changing and life-saving and all of that, right?
Well, they can be life-changing.
They can be life-changing. I live that every single day. Thank you very much. But yeah, I definitely was a little bit more of a pushover. And when this happens to you, when you have an injury that devastates you to a place where your whole perception of reality is shattered, it sure allows you to step into who you are. And you don't take shit from anyone anymore. I do not, for the first time in my life, and it took me, 41 years. I'm 40, almost 44. I don't care what people think about me. It was being in Hollywood. I was so afraid of what I said. Did I offend this person? And I would just fall into the trap of this of well, whatever you want me to be. I'm at a place that I'm going to be who I am. And if you don't like it, unfollow me. Don't have anything to do with me. That's okay. Because what I've learned is life is too short.
Having a health crisis can refocus one in that way.
Right. Right. And, I just recently lost my mom to the shot.
Your mother?
Oh, yeah.
When did she get the shot?
She got the shot. It was 3.5 years ago. Mm-hmm.
And what?
Or actually 3 years and 10. It was right after I had my son. Mm-hmm.
What kind of issues did she have after she got
heart
it?
Issues. It attacked her heart. By 6 months after getting the 2 doses of Moderna, she was 90 pounds.
Oh my God. Jeez.
Right. So this is personal to me, Aaron. So sitting in front of you right now is I hate doing interviews, but I said yes, with bells on, to come talk to you because this is very personal to me. And the people that are fighting this fight, I have so much respect for. You are family forever now, just because of that, But yeah, it's been a very devastating experience. So your health is being ripped from you. Your mother's being ripped from you. Yeah, it'll change a person.
Absolutely. And it will take you to the state that you just described, which is because you realize life is short, you realize what's important. The other stuff doesn't matter. So it probably helps you laugh at that video, hopefully.
Well, I made t-shirts. Did you see that?
No.
And you can buy your own.
What does the t-shirt say?
It says her quote. I can't really say it verbatim, but it was fabulous. And since they didn't want to acknowledge vaccine injury publicly, they inadvertently helped the vaccine injured because all sales go to the vaccine injured.
Where can people find this t-shirt?
On my Instagram, and my new business handle is As Women Today.
As Women Today. Mm-hmm. Oh, As Women Today. That was the part that just killed me when she said that.
Oh, I loved it.
Well, I'm sorry about, sorry about the loss of your mother. That's, I know how tough that can be.
Thank you.
It's never, yeah.
She was very impressed by you, by the way.
Oh, wow.
I will let you know that. Mm-hmm.
Oh.
She was very proud of the work that I was doing.
Well, she should be.
Thank you.
React 19 is an amazing organization. You're the creative director.
Mm-hmm.
And you're definitely doing some creative stuff there.
That's for
it's for sure. I mean, so many people are like, these anti-vaxxers, they're so effective. They're changing, what everybody thinks about these products, as if React 19 and the few other groups like it have this like multi-billion-dollar budget. And that's the irony, is that you're sitting there as the creative director of an organization that has a budget of what? Like, do you know?
It's all money goes towards the medical grants for our
right. So, I mean, everybody there is pretty much a volunteer.
It all comes out of pocket or fundraising. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And, but yet somehow, you're able to create vaccine hesitancy with your no salaried staff and the grant money you give to the injured and the few groups that have a few dollars, but yet somehow with the billions of dollars pharma has every year to promote their product, the billions of federal health agencies, even to today, spend promoting these products and the state agencies. And what they don't realize is that what they did to people like you, to your mother, is what creates the hesitancy. Because what they hope is that everybody injured will just go away. And more critically, if they don't, have no platform.
Right.
I mean, that's what they really are banking on.
Sure.
And they're banking on the legacy media just gaslighting, attacking, and so forth.
Mm-hmm.
And that feeds right into why you were excluded from this band in some ways. I'm not saying that they consciously did it in that way, but that ethos, I'm sure, feeds into why they didn't, put you back in.
For sure. I'm a liability.
But you're a woman though, right?
I think so.
Because didn't you say we and you're here today? You're in the present.
Yes.
So you're a woman, and you're here today.
I'm here today.
So I don't know. You seem to meet the criteria for participating, because that was her reasoning. It's like, we're women here today. Well, I know there's a little confusion about who's a woman and so forth.
It is 2026.
You sure you didn't start identifying as a man or something?
I did not. I am identifying as a woman still.
Okay.
I might change tomorrow. You never know.
Is that the Holly weird thing you're talking about?
Yeah, the pronouns thing is very Holly weirdo, and it needs to stop, because what's happening is these agendas that are ripping through the gay communities, which, by the way, the gay community was my platform. Gay rights was always, marriage was my main platform. And watching this agenda kind of rip through the community, it's destroying it with the pronouns, because it's pissing off people. And we can't shove down these ideologies to Christians or religious people at all. And I think they did that intentionally to destroy the gay community. But I guess that might be another conversation.
Whoa, that's a big claim.
It is, I know.
You think that the whole pronoun, the transgender, is almost as a way to attack the gay movement?
In my opinion, yes, because I do believe there are transgender women, men. I'm not saying that they should be erased or they don't matter. That's not at all what I'm saying. It's the amount of people that are deciding, I'm going to change genders. See, here's the thing. Pride used to be, you need to be proud of who you are inside your own body. Don't let people tell you who you are. You be prideful of who you are. Right? But now it's like, okay, well, you can take this pill and we can give you this surgery and blah, blah, blah. And by the way, you don't need the 7 years of therapy, psychotherapy that they used to use for this, when people would transition. Let's just do it soon. Let's do it in a year. I have friends that just went up to the doctor and they got it right away. This hormone therapy that is absolutely not reversible.
Yeah.
So here's the thing. Yeah, sure, it's a trend right now and whatever, and young kids are doing, which breaks my heart. But what happens when this trend is over? What happens when the public turns their back on these kids or these adults that have mutilated themselves? They're not going to get the support. And that, to me, is when there has to be some sort of community that helps these people. Because in my opinion, sorry to talk your ear off.
No, please.
I don't believe the gay community needs a flag. Gay people are not oppressed. They are not separate from society. But someone with agendas is like, you have a flag, so you're separate, so you're oppressed, so you need us. You know what I mean?
Yeah. We have interacted with folks who are detransitioning, and let me tell you, it is some of the saddest, torturous, interactions that I've had with others. Obviously we deal with a lot of folks in various life situations, but man, it's just, especially because a lot of times they engage in the transition, like you said, irreversible. Once they start the hormone therapy and once they do the surgeries,
forget it.
Can't go back. And then when they regret it, and they've done it, they did it young,
Right.
They were like, I was just confused. I wasn't, now for some folks, they're happy, but for many folks, that's not where they end up. And that's a really sad state. So I agree, people spend a lot of time deciding what car to get. I mean, they'll like go to dealership. And,
right.
It's amazing how quickly they can get these surgeries and these hormone blockers if they want to these days.
I think
it shouldn't be that. There should be for minors.
Right.
There should be some process, I think, so that they don't wake up one day and go, oh my God, what did I do?
Right, exactly. They're just not giving the informed consent, just like they didn't do with the vaccines.
Well, somebody should fact check me after this show on this, what I'm about to say, okay? Because this is not my area, but
all right.
My understanding is that there were like only 3 or something major centers that did transition surgeries, and that number has exploded.
I bet.
And so, in many ways, now you have all these surgeries. You've got to, feed, so to speak, this beast.
Mm-hmm.
You have to, engage in these surgeries. Otherwise, what are you doing with all this resources, personnel that you've invested in this? It's kind of like, not to go on a tangent, but it's kind of like OBs, right? They're trained surgeons to do what primarily? To do C-sections.
Mm-hmm.
So we have gone, unlike, for example, a country like Denmark, where the last time I checked was like a decade ago. So somebody should check this too. After reading a book called like The Thinking Woman's Guide to Pregnancy, some single digit is my understanding of cesarean rate, at least back then. And a third of the women gave birth at home, a third in birthing centers, a third in hospitals, because they didn't have for-profit. It's a government-run medical system. So here you are, they have a tiny cesarean rate versus America, where in public hospitals, it's like 20, 30%. I think private hospitals, like 30 to 50%, right? Because when you have the financial incentive, all of a sudden you see more medicalization of the process, more surgeries being done, just like with the transitioning. There's no reason to think it's anything other than that.
It's a cash cow. That's the sad part.
Yeah.
It's on a trend.
But and I agree with you on the immutable characteristics, like somebody born, I've had friends and in law school and now and so forth. And most of the friends who like say they're gay, they're like, yeah, I knew I was gay when I was a kid.
Right.
I mean, that's what I typically hear from folks who are
For
gay.
sure.
It's not like I decided when I was, no, it's like I kind of knew it from as early age as I can recall.
For sure.
That's my experience vis-a-vis the individuals who are gay, identify as gay, who are friends and I've known through my lifetime.
Right.
I'd say that's typically the pattern. So in some ways, it's almost like an immutable characteristic. You're kind of born that way.
I believe that. My grandfather is gay.
And so that's the right I think you're talking about. You're just fighting for an immutable characteristic. You were born a woman and you're present.
Yeah, as a woman today.
But anyway, gay marriage. I mean, do you think the government should even be issuing marriage certificates? Should even be involved?
I don't think government should be involved in anything. And it's crazy. Yeah. I'm not a fan of the government, so let's probably not talk about that right now. I'm just kidding.
I mean,
I'm more so now that Bobby's in there with, HHS. I'm a big fan of HHS, but when it comes down to politics and stuff, I just was never political till my life depended on it.
I mean, it's kind of ironic. The government created this thing where it issued these marriage certificates, right, which is a construct,
right?
And then would only give it to certain types of couples, and then they had to have a whole lawsuit to also give it to folks who are gay. Maybe the easy solution being just get rid of marriage certificates altogether. I mean, it's kind of a weird. I mean, if you really step back and think about it, it's kind of a weird thing for the government to even be doing to begin with.
That's a good point. That's a really good point.
Right?
Yeah, for sure.
I mean, you want to get married? Do you want to live with somebody? I mean, I'm not saying you shouldn't be able to go to the church and get married.
Right.
The whole idea was supposed to be a religious thing, right?
Okay.
Right? Isn't that the idea?
I guess that makes sense. Yeah.
I mean, so you can go to the church, you can go to your pastor, your priest, and get married. Why does the government have to bless it?
Right.
I get there's benefits, like, but you can have those without the whole idea of a marriage certificate and so forth. Any event.
Yeah.
I'm going to have to go down
You hear that,
road.
folks? Don't get married.
Well,
I'm just kidding. I'm kidding. But it's true, though. I feel like when people, it's a misconception, right? Like when people get married, I think they're just worried about maybe their property or losing things if they do break up when you build something together. You know what I mean? So I don't know. Government being involved is not fun, but.
Well, in California, there's common law marriage. You never have to go in to get a marriage certificate. If you live with somebody long enough, you get the benefits of what they consider traditional getting a marriage certificate, right? So in California, if you cohabitate and you have kids and you're living together for a long, long time, even if you've never gotten down and given the official government document, you still can, get benefits and so forth. But wouldn't it be better to just do that contractually and let the parties negotiate it beforehand? I mean, people do it the opposite way with prenups. I know somebody's going to, say, "Oh, you're disenfranchising folks who don't have access to lawyers," and or can't get a contract together. But I mean, come on, lawyers are going to be, in large part. Well, let's not go down that road with AI. But
oh gosh, that's
come
scary.
on. I mean, you can use AI these days even to put together simple terms of what you want to agree to beforehand. Think about it. That's imperfect.
Right.
That would come with its own issues.
For sure.
But in some ways, wouldn't it be better to get government out of the business? And
get government out of everything, man.
Well, you're there now, right?
Mm-hmm.
You think you had those used 6 years ago, 7 years ago?
6 years. What's that? 6 years ago. Mm-hmm.
Well, would you have those used in 2018? You're just Hollywood weird then.
I was a Holly weirdo, totally like Democrat, like hated Trump, had TDS pretty bad. I wouldn't read articles. I would just, see the clickbait and like all mad. Like, look what he said, and I'm actually got a taste of my own medicine with that.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, because people aren't smart enough to go and listen to the interview or read the whole article. They just have that clickbait, which is rage bait, And I'm suffering through that because it's like, I said I didn't like war. And they're like, "Oh, you love war." I'm like, oh my God.
You said you didn't love war?
I didn't love war in this last interview. And I don't hate Trump. I don't, and it was like, "You love war," because just any association with Trump, it's like a trigger word. It's a psyops.
So you got attacked for saying you don't love war?
Yes.
You don't love war?
I don't love war. The guy didn't, he just saw that I said Trump, that I said MAGA, and it was like, "You like war." It was just this crazy thing, and I can't compete with these people. It's like, what am I supposed to argue with? I can't. I'm like, yes, okay. I just said in the interview, if you would listen, I said, I don't like war. So.
Well, okay.
Yeah.
I mean, you said you don't like war.
Right.
All right. Well, I mean, who likes war? I mean, I think that's a fair enough comment.
I think so too. I don't know. I just wish people would use their little noodle.
That doesn't sound like rage bait. That sounds like people are taking exactly what you said and having an issue. Oh, because you're saying that they're interpreting as you being anti-Trump.
No. So they're interpreting. Sorry, let me explain this a little better. So like, I did an interview the other day. And then they were like, I was like, I think I wasn't asked to be back in the dolls because of my alignment with Bobby, which aligns with MAGA. Do I like what Trump is doing? No, I don't like war. All right. That's what I said. But in the press, and the story went viral, I tripled down on MAGA. That was the tagline. She triples down on MAGA. That's it. That's all they got.
That's what they got from it?
That's all they got from the interview. So I am getting like swarmed by these TDS people just like, you love Trump. I'm like, oh my gosh. I don't hate him. They don't like me when I say that though.
Sounds like what's happening to Rob Schneider today. I don't know if you saw that. He tweeted out, he said, we should reinstitute the draft. Now, he's a comedian, folks. Okay. He actually called me up earlier and he goes, "I'm drafting you." And I go, "What are you talking about?" What do you mean? I was like, "I hope they draft me. I hope I'm fit enough to do it." And he's like, "Oh, you didn't see?" And I was like, "See what?" And he was kidding. His point was reinstitute the draft and then you'll see how much people don't like war. That's what he was saying. He says, like, if you read down That's what I was saying.
Right.
But he's apparently getting a lot of, he's getting attacked for it. And not only that, he had someplace he was supposed to speak at said, well, you're for war, for the drafts, and they canceled his speaking engagement over it. I mean, wild. But that's, I think, what you're talking about.
That's exactly what I'm talking about. And I think that's what Trump dealt with for so many years, that like no one, went in and like actually saw what he said, unedited versions. And once my reality shattered with my vaccine injury, I had the time to go and look back on what he said and the things and the way they demonized him and what they did with Bobby too. I mean, it's kind of crazy.
You want to do a fun exercise on exactly that score?
Yes.
All right. This is one of my favorites. This is from the time I killed half the country with polio. I don't know if you heard about this.
Oh, wow.
Hey, can you pull up on the screen here the New York Times headline about, RFK Jr. lawyer wants to eliminate the polio vaccine? Can you pull up that headline? This is one of my favorite rage baits of all time. It's so great. Let's pull this up because I want to go through the exact wording of this thing. It's a fun little exercise. I'll wait for Michael to pull it up and we go through it. But while he's doing that, so all right. So if I asked you about Trump in 2018, what would you be saying?
I hate him. He hates women. He's not going to grab me with my.
Yeah. Okay.
I did the march
in your Pussycat doll.
I did the march. Yeah, I did. He's not going to grab me with my Pussycat doll. We did the march. I had the hat. I was like, All right,
let's put that on the screen. All right. So check out this headline. So this is when Robert F. Kennedy Jr. was a candidate to become Secretary of HHS, and the New York Times, being as incredibly objective, we're clearly looking to objectively write an article to make sure he doesn't become Secretary of HHS. Okay, that's objective,
right? And
so this was the headline that was run, and I'm just going to parse this through for a second. Kennedy's lawyer has asked the FDA to revoke approval of the polio vaccine. Kennedy's lawyer, referring to yours truly, okay, which would indicate, now you would think reading that I was representing who to revoke approval of the polio vaccine.
You're representing Kennedy.
To revoke the polio vaccine, right? That's what you would think.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Nope.
Right.
Now, I'm a lawyer. I have been Bobby's lawyer. But I was not Bobby's lawyer when it came to revoking this vaccine. By the way, we're going to get to whether that's true too. But just the first two words. So, yes, I was Bobby's lawyer. So technically, yeah. Was I his lawyer with regards to the petition they're talking about? No.
Right.
Think about that. Okay, so first deception.
Right.
So if they're going to be honest, they would have said ICANN's lawyer. But that doesn't make a good headline, does it? Because the petition they're talking about, I filed on behalf of ICANN. You know how many times I talked to Bobby about it before I filed the petition? 0. You know how many times I talked to him afterwards? 0. Do you know when this article came out and I spoke to him? I was like, "Did you know about this?" He's like, "I don't know what the hell you're talking about." He never heard of this petition.
Yeah.
But all of America thought, okay, all right. So we're only on the first two words.
Right.
Has asked the FDA to revoke approval of the polio vaccine, which would indicate you would say, oh, they're trying to get rid of the polio vaccine.
Right. There's more than that. Mm-hmm.
Meaning like there's only one.
Right.
Because the means one, not A. In New York Times, the A, different meaning.
God, I remember this.
So the problem is that no, it wasn't to revoke the polio vaccine because there were 6 licensed polio vaccines. Now, not only that, so let's continue. So it should have been ICANN's lawyer has asked the FDA to revoke approval of a polio vaccine. Okay, we're getting a little closer to facts. Wait, it gets worse. You ready? The petition was only with regards to its licensure for children, not adults. So it should have said, ICANN's lawyer has asked the FDA to revoke approval of a polio vaccine, but only with regards to children. We're getting closer.
Yeah.
But that's still way off of the facts.
Right. Yeah.
Because
they don't like facts. Though,
because the petition actually provides not that to revoke it forever, it wasn't like get rid of this one polio vaccine.
Right.
It was a new one based on a brand new technology licensed in 1990 where they grew it on essentially cancerous monkey kidney cells.
Cancer.
It was a new one, 1990, and based on these basically monkey kidney cells that were entered cancerous, and they ended up in every vial. So you really want to test it instead. It's licensed based on a clinical trial with 3 days of safety review and not enough kids and no control group. It's a joke.
Right.
So the petition simply said, hey, FDA, listen, if you're going to license a product to inject it into children, you should do it based on safety. You know what? Even adults, fine, go nuts. But children, come on. Mm-hmm. Make sure that you have a proper clinical trial and then give it the licensure. Meaning all ICANN was asking the FDA to do is follow their normal licensure process.
Right.
But yet that is the outrage that they went and they generated outrage.
Oh, I remember this.
I got thousands of, emails, calls, texts, you name it, messages like that were, they're funny.
I'm glad you can have fun with it.
They're funny.
You should make shirts.
They'd have to only sell, they'd have to have a, X or or at least R rating on them for most of them.
Oh gosh, I'm sorry. People are so lovely online.
Oh no, they were one was more funny than the next because listen, they were angry, but their anger is totally misplaced.
For sure. Well, we know that.
They should be angry, but they should be angry at the FDA licensed that thing.
Right.
The way they did.
The people behind, and this is just my opinion, I think behind the vaccines with these marketing campaigns, they're so incredibly successful because even if you even question it, you're a crazy person, you're an anti-vaxxer, you're this. No, I'm just asking a question. You know what I mean? And they are so brilliant at being able to demonize anyone that questions it. And the problem with the COVID vaccine, it hurt too many of us. There are so many of us that are misdiagnosed, and I think they did exactly the opposite of what they wanted. They created a mass awakening. So people are asking questions, and this is what you're doing is, I want to protect your kids. I want to make sure your kids are safe. No, you want to kill them. No, actually, no one's actually done proper double-blind placebo testings, any of this stuff. It is just ludicrous. So yeah.
Well, look, Jessica, cars are really important to get people to the hospital, the ambulances, and get people to, all kinds of places. Without cars, there'd be a lot of harm. And so if you want to make cars safer, you're trying to kill people. You understand? You're anti-car and you're an anti-carer.
Right. You're an anti-carer.
You're an anti-carer for wanting safer cars. Exactly. It's sad. And the thing with the COVID vaccine, like you said, it hurt too many folks.
Too many.
Yes. But not only did it hurt too many, it hurt too many folks too quickly. I will submit my view on that, which is that most vaccines they don't vaccinate 280 million Americans in a very short period of time.
Yeah.
And when you go and you vaccinate that many people that short period of time, the issues that arise, they just don't recede into the background very quickly enough. So you can't hide from them.
Right.
So when you look at most vaccines, they're rolled out to a cohort of children, often who can't talk. And then slowly over time, it starts, the percentage of the population that's vaccinated increases. Right. So it takes 20, 30 years before you've gotten everybody vaccinated. Look at the Hep B vaccine, cohort. And then by the time you're 20, 30 years later, it's I don't know why this issue has arisen. Why are all these neurological, immunological issues exploding in society? Don't know.
Right.
If COVID vaccine was rolled out like most vaccines, here's what I would speculate. And I'm speculating, okay? Is that if they gave it to just little kids and then another cohort of little kids, another cohort of little kids, myocarditis, pericarditis, just on that issue alone, would start rising slowly in the background rate. And 20 years from now, they would be like, wow, it's risen over the last 20, 30 years. What's causing it? We have no idea.
Right.
We don't know what's causing it. And we should really, really study it. And we're going to go spend $1 billion studying genetics. That's what we're going to go do. And that's what we're going to fund, which is what the NIH is trying to figure everything out through genetics in so many of these issues. So yeah, I agree. They hurt too many folks, but they also did it too rapidly in too short a period of time. And enough people where there was enough of a critical mass, in my view, where the doctors that came out were able to get some play, and it became political for the first time. So you could get onto Fox News and you can get doctors on there saying things about the vaccine that are negative, which you could never do. When Hep B vaccine first came out, there were a number of very brave doctors, like there were, like the Pierre Corys of the world. There were those doctors that came out and they sounded the alarm bell of the issues that vaccine can cause. But they never got on Fox. They never got on Joe Rogan. They never got on podcasts. There was no alternative media.
Right.
They were
Good point.
And they're all they got was their careers destroyed.
For sure.
With no backup plan. Unlike at least when, for these folks, they've got their own platforms now.
Right.
They have a following from this. They can do something with that.
Right.
These doctors, they just got eviscerated.
Yeah.
So
even like Jenny McCarthy too, like when she went on that one show, I guess she said some horror stories about it. I had never even seen that interview till like recently.
Which interview are you talking about?
I think she was what's his name? It was a Jim Carrey and King.
Oh, Larry King Live. Yeah.
And then the other one, the doctor. But still, she was so articulate because you have to believe parents. Parents understand their children really well. I know, it's like, it's crazy. You see their eyes change, and got to listen to the parent.
You should. It's the thing about it is that as much as they try to convince you, for example, that it's not the vaccine, your lived experience.
Oh, I knew it right away.
You can't, your lived experience. And that's what these parents know too with their kids.
For sure. This is the neurological aspect of it. But when it happened to me, my husband is the one that knew it was the vaccine. And I didn't want to believe it. I was upset about that.
It's hard to come to terms that it's especially when, and I've been in too many rooms with parents who've just, the amount of regret that they have.
Yeah.
It's, sometimes it turns into, they're almost like shame. Sometimes it turns into just rage, anger. It's all of it. And they know their lived experience. They know what happened to their kids.
For sure. And you've looked into the eyes of the bereaved. You've heard stories, and you share the same energy and the same oxygen as these people, right? And when people come after me, I'm anti-vax. I'm like, you have no idea. If you actually took the time to educate yourself or look into the eyes of, I was doing lobbying in DC. I will never do it again. It was not for me, but I was with parents that lost their kids to the COVID vaccine, and they were telling the senator's aide, like, hey, this is the full detailed account of like what happened to their kid. And the person was just glazed over. They just wanted nothing to do with the conversation. I think they were thinking about Subway after dinner or something. It was just so bizarre. So when you live it, I live it on a molecular level, but also I'm in like the advocacy space, as you are a bigger advocate than I am. It changes you.
Look, just the advocacy is really, it's like a tapestry. There's no one person that can affect the change. It requires everybody's involvement. It truly does. But is it so surprising? Because you don't fit into the schema. They don't fit into the self-schema that person has, nor into their cultural cognition of the world. And here's what I mean by that. A lot of folks use the term anti-vaxxer, folks who take issue with vaccines, as like what they're not. I'm scientific. I'm rational. Anti-vaxxers, those folks are crazy, right? And so to admit that vaccines cause a problem, to go down that road is to fit into what they view as the box of an anti-vaxxer. And that juxtaposes with their self-schema. So they got to get over that. They got to get over their own self-schema for a lot of people. And you can see that especially right now on the political side, folks on one side of the political spectrum where vaccine injury no longer has this taboo. You can have as much. You can have those discussions. On the other side, where it still has that taboo, it's very hard to have that discussion still to this day.
Right.
So that's first of all. And separately, there's the cultural cognition piece where still to this day, a lot of people are just like safe and effective.
Right.
Just safe and effective. Repeat after me. Safe and effective.
Vaccines,
You're a
amen.
woman and you're here and vaccines are safe and effective. These are all true immediately.
Yep.
And so, that's the, so they don't want to let that in. They just write you off as anecdotal. You're just an anecdote. It's like, was it really the vaccine? And even if it was, she's just one person, you're just one person kind of thing. And so you're the one in the million. You're the 1 in a million,
Yeah, that 1%. Yep, I remember. Yeah.
But
1% is actually a lot, but
1% is a lot, especially when you give it to 280 million people. 1% is 2.8 million people.
Right.
It's a lot of people.
Right.
And let's not get into how dangerous COVID itself was.
Well, exactly. The first wave was really bad and it was a weapon, but we'll get into that another time.
But I don't have a problem with the word anti-vaxxer. I like the term.
I do too.
I love the term anti-vaxxer because have you ever seen the definition?
No.
You've never seen it?
No, I haven't actually. I mean, I know what it means.
Merriam-Webster, please. Go to Merriam-Webster, type in anti-vaxxer, and we're going to put that up on the screen. You're going to love this.
Oh, I can't wait.
Because the next time somebody calls you an anti-vaxxer, you should tell them, oh, you mean the group in America that now comprises a majority of Americans? So if you're not an anti-vaxxer minority, don't worry. We're not. Can we put that up on the screen? Okay. Check this out. Okay. Here it is. Dictionary definition, Merriam-Webster. So, right, this is the dictionary. So Merriam-Webster has their editors who try to capture what is the vernacular use of this term. And here's what they have. Okay. A person who opposes the use of some or all vaccines. Let's just stop there for a second. Okay. Do a majority of Americans oppose getting a COVID vaccine right now?
Yes.
Are a majority of Americans anti-vaxxers?
No. Well, I inspect it.
Wait a second. I'm sorry. A person who opposes the use of some or all vaccines. So if a majority of Americans oppose the use of COVID vaccine, wouldn't they meet the dictionary definition of an anti-vaxxer?
You're making me really use my... I am vaccinated. Hey, I am vaccinated. You need to go slow with me. Yes, I know what you mean.
Right, think about it.
Yeah.
What that means is that if you oppose the use of some or all vaccines, that makes you a dictionary I mean, what else are we going to use? I mean, if we're not going to use the dictionary for terms, I mean, we could use I don't know. I'm going to use the dictionary.
Okay.
Let's just start it. So your dictionary definition you oppose using the COVID vaccine? So you're a dictionary definition anti-vaxxer. And you know what else is? Over half of Americans, based on most surveys, oppose the COVID vaccine. All right? They can't even get them together. It's spending billions to promote it. They can't say it. So they are dictionary definition anti-vaxxers. A majority of Americans literally meet the definition of being an anti-vaxxer, according to Merriam-Webster. I think a majority of Americans, depending on which survey you look at, oppose getting an influenza vaccine too.
Right.
Significant proportion oppose getting various adults. A majority of them don't follow the adult schedule. Now, maybe they don't mean to, but in surveys, we at least got 2. Now, that's some. Then we go on to regulations. Do a majority of Americans oppose mandating the COVID vaccines? I think the surveys all show that. I think that's true of influenza vaccine and some of the other vaccines, right? They're trying like crazy to get HPV vaccine, other vaccines required across the country. They can't get those through because I bet they're doing Poland, and most people don't want that regulation. They don't want that mandate. So, yeah.
Interesting because it's he said, well, he will not get the COVID-19 vaccine. He is not an anti-vaxxer against all vaccination.
Where is he saying? He said, well, he will not get the COVID vaccine. He's not an anti. Yeah, that's kind of funny. It's because then if he's not going to get the COVID vaccine, then, maybe he's really not opposed to the COVID, as maybe he just doesn't want to get it because those are definitely in conflict, aren't they?
Sure,
right?
For sure. Well, and let's be real here. The COVID it wasn't a vaccine. It was gene therapy, but,
Well, I don't know. I'm going to give you I'll give you a little pushback on that.
No problem.
You're gonna get a little pushback, and I get.
Okay.
This is probably where I get attacked the most.
Really?
Oh yeah. Oh my gosh, I put out a Substack once with a. Can we pull up my Substack? Oh my God, this image is kind of funny. Can you go to my Substack, Michael, and find the article where I say COVID-19 vaccine is a vaccine. Just pull that up. And so I put that out. Oh my God, I got attacked viciously for this. Now, let me tell you why I view COVID vaccine as a vaccine.
I love it. I want to hear this.
So, number one, if you're going to categorize vaccines based on the technology used to create the vaccine, then I'm not sure what is a vaccine and what's not, because there are lots of different technologies, like the hepatitis B vaccine. That's a recombinant DNA vaccine. It's used recombinant DNA technology.
Oh, I didn't know that.
To create the vaccine. They literally, I don't want to get through it. They use the yeast, they use the DNA. It doesn't matter. The point is that is very much unlike, for example, an attenuated vaccine, which is like they're totally two different units, completely different technologies. So like the rubella vaccine, they take the rubella virus and they grow it on the cultured cell line of aborted fetus, because they have to propagate the virus in a cellular medium and to keep it alive, which is why, and this is, I get attacked for this too, but this is just a fact, all cited in my book, which is that's why every single vial of MMR vaccine, chickenpox vaccine, Hep A vaccine, literally every vial has billions of pieces of human DNA, as well as cellular debris from the cultured cell line of an aborted fetus. Billions of pieces in every single vial. So every time you inject that baby, you're injecting billions of pieces from the cultured cell line of an aborted fetus.
I feel sick.
So in any event,
do you think that's causing gender dysphoria?
Oh man, you're the second person to ask me this.
Yeah, I mean,
can I come back to you on that?
Yes, please. I need to hear this.
So that's first of all. So they're all different technologies. And what about like toxoid vaccines? They don't have any part of, these are for, certain bacteria. They have no part of the bacteria in the vial that they use to create antigens for, or they just use a toxin sometimes released by the bacteria. Does that make it not a vaccine then?
Oh, interesting.
That's the tetanus vaccine and diphtheria vaccine. There's no part of the tetanus bacteria or diphtheria bacteria that is used to create that vaccine, nor are there any antibodies that are generated to those bacteria themselves when you get vaccinated. Think about that. Does that make it? In any event, so the technologies vary widely, in my view. That's number one. Number two, then COVID doesn't stop transmission, so that makes it not a vaccine.
Well, none of them do, though, do they?
A lot of them don't. Well, some do. Measles vaccine stops transmission in most people for a good duration of the time, okay? It's not like getting measles. So then if it's not based on transmission, then, if you're going to do based transmission, then pertussis vaccine is not a vaccine, tetanus vaccine is not a vaccine, current polio vaccine is not a vaccine. Half your vaccines are not vaccines, right? So to me, those aren't, oh, there it is. Can you put it up on the screen? Oh my gosh. mRNA vaccines are vaccines, and I have that. But no, go into the meme. Pull up the meme. I wrote, if we could just stop calling it a vaccine, that would be great. Oh my God, people, can you come back out of it? I said, for the countless people who send me friendly messages like, stop calling them a effing vaccine. With regards to Pfizer, Moderna, mRNA vaccines, I have some bad news. These COVID-19 vaccines are vaccines. So I got a lot of hate for that. And no, just scroll down. Just scroll down for a second. So they do not prevent infection transmission. So I explained that. Most of them don't. Keep going. And then keep going down. Keep going to the headers. Just go through the headers for a second. The definition of vaccines have changed. You could see that the old definition, new definition, it's not what people think. It didn't really scroll down. keep going. So I go through the old definition, and under the old definition, actually, mRNA vaccines would qualify if you look at it. They all work the same way. This one's different. Anyway, you could take that off. I'm going to get so much hate mail. But anybody, before you send me hate mail, please, I'm looking at everybody watching this, read that article. Okay, please read the article, then send me the hate mail.
Yeah, get the hate good. You know what I'm saying?
Send me hate mail after you read the article, because and maybe folks will like this. So the technology is, yes, and trust me, I understand that the vaccine with mRNA takes and uses your own cellular machinery to create the antigen that then results in the production of antibodies. I get that, meaning it uses that to create the spike protein. But if you look at the way some other vaccines work, there's always a chain of events that leads to the quote unquote antibody production. But anyways, let's just leave that alone for a second. And I'll say this. Here is my definition of vaccine, and maybe this will please, maybe this is red meat for the crowd, okay?
Okay.
My definition of vaccine is this. It's a product that causes so much harm and injury that it cannot survive in the marketplace without immunity for the injuries that it causes. And to me, that is the most consistent thread, because and to me, that's why mRNA vaccines are a vaccine. It has nothing to do with the technology. It has nothing to do with whether they stop transmission. It has nothing to do with some random CDC definition. It has to do with the fact that they had to define it as a vaccine. And by doing so, they could then put it into the category that would get the immunity, because the harm it was going to cause apparently is so great, it cannot survive without it, right? That's what a vaccine is. We used to have a vaccine for example, for Lyme disease.
I saw. Yeah.
Now, it was only for adults. So that means it didn't end up getting the 1986 Act immunity, the National Childhood Vaccine Drug 1986 that created that immunity, right, that vaccines have. So to have the immunity, it needs to be a routine injected childhood vaccine. And if you give it to adults, it has the immunity too, but it has to be a routine injected childhood vaccine or pregnancy vaccine to get the immunity. Okay? So Lyme disease vaccine didn't have it. Where's that vaccine today? It's gone.
It is.
Yeah. You know why?
Causing harm?
Causing harm.
Ah, no.
Wow, look at that. Isn't that amazing?
Who would have thought?
Who would have thought? How about that?
Yeah, strange.
Yeah, if you really pay attention, whenever they get a vaccine out there, they always want to get it onto the childhood schedule. Even like they came out with the vaccine for RSV, okay? It's for pregnant women. They got it on the childhood schedule starting at 16 years of age, because a girl can get pregnant, a woman that's right?
And men.
Like, why would they do? And
I'm sorry.
That's okay. Yeah, and they're
you
here.
left it open for me.
And they're here. So that is, is it yes, I've read the SEC filings. They call it a form of gene therapy. Could we classify some other stuff into it? Yes. Do I think that the FDA should have also put it through as gene therapy? Yes. They should have also licensed it under that regime. And let me tell you, all the other vaccines are not just biological. So right now, vaccines are licensed through the biologics division of the FDA. Vaccines are not just biological material. They also have all kinds of components like aluminum adjuvants in them, like non-biological components. So those should also be called drugs, by the way. Those should also have to go through the drug regulatory process. And if they did, they might actually go through a decent clinical trial. Anyway. So I kind of got me on a tangent. So
I appreciate it. I just show.
I view them as vaccines because they need the immunity. If the mRNA quote unquote products were licensed through the gene therapy licensing division of the FDA and were not granted immunity, then I wouldn't call them vaccines. Then I agree.
Right.
But but we have to live in the reality of what government categorize them as and how they're treating them. there are a number of products. I can make a good argument that tetanus and diphtheria vaccines are not vaccines. A really good argument. Tetanus vaccine doesn't stop transmission.
Right.
Tetanus itself is not transmissible person to person.
Right.
There's nothing in the vial that creates any immunity to the bacteria. So why the hell is it a vaccine?
Right.
Well, because of the immunity. That's why. That's it. That's the way I look at it.
It makes all the sense in the world. It's crazy. Do you think, I know you're interviewing me, but do you think that the vaccine injured, especially the COVID vaccine injured, will ever see a day where we'll get some sort of justice or there'll be some sort of accountability? This is a loaded question. I'm sorry, Aaron.
No, that's not loaded at all. And I'm happy to give you the very raw and painful answer. But do you mind if I ask you first to share your injury story?
Absolutely.
And because I just said a lot of stuff that is already going to upset people. So before I say more stuff that's going to upset people,
let me upset more people. I'm just kidding. First of all, your viewers love you, so don't even say that. You're not upsetting anyone. We're very proud of you. So what happened was with me, I wasn't going to get the vaccine. My OB was going to give it to me while I was pregnant. I was on the fence about it. My husband talked me out of it. Wait till, and I was just on the fence, but I was so indoctrinated into like the society where the news was dictating everything. I'm seeing the numbers of the deaths and the this and just so the fear-based nature of everything. And the lady on the news got me. She says, if you have kids, you need to protect them. I just had MJ. Right. So I took myself to CVS that day, drove myself, and I did this to myself. And the first, when he injected me, I'm a sarcastic person, as you can tell. But it ripped.
We're simpatico.
It ripped through my arm, Aaron. And I looked at him. I'm like, am I going to turn into the Hulk? Like, what is? He's like, oh, don't worry, you'll be fine. But just sit for 15 minutes. I'm like, sit for 15 minutes. It was so weird. Anyway, so 3 days later, I woke up with a muscle spasm in my right rib that was like nothing I had ever experienced. I'm a dancer my whole life. I was like, did I sleep on my back wrong? Brain fog. Got downstairs. I'm like, babe, I feel like I slept on my back wrong. I need to
the very next day.
3 days later.
3 days later.
3 days later. So
after there's time for the immunity to build up for those.
Right.
Okay,
for just to go through my whole body.
Yep.
It's great. Anyway, 2 weeks go by. No modality was taking out this muscle spasm and the brain fog. So I thought something was very wrong. Got on Google. Oh God, it's an organ. So I took myself to the hospital. They ran all the tests. Nothing indicated, and CAT scan, blood work, you name it, nothing indicated anything. I did mention that I had the first shot. No correlation to this muscle spasm. So for me, as someone who believes in the technology, I went the following week and got the second shot. I know everyone's like, you're a dumbass. But here's the thing.
No, it's the same thing I say to parents with injured kids. I said, how would you know? I mean, everything you've been told is just basically led you to believe. Trust the science. Before you got that first shot, any health issues? Anything?
Nothing. So healthy.
Zero.
More of a hypochondriac if anything. I was always like scared of things, but no.
So that was your health issue? You were a hypochondriac?
And not like a clinical one, but I'm like, I was scared to death of diseases and things like that. I always made sure I ate right, and I just was always healthy.
I was being sarcastic.
Oh, okay. Sorry. You're a lot smarter than me, Aaron. Sometimes these things go over my head.
I'm sorry. I apologize. So, no, nothing. Like, when's the last time you've been to a hospital before that?
When I had MJ. Yeah, that was
to have
it.
a baby.
Time for baby.
Okay, before that.
I tore my knee in dancing. That was it.
How long?
That was in high school and then also in like 2011. But I also broke my rib, but I didn't go to the hospital.
Okay.
I went to a doctor. So I hated doctors. Didn't matter. Yeah.
Okay.
Healthy. Completely healthy. We before COVID was going to happen, we were about to go on tour. So I was dancing like I was 23 again.
Okay.
Try to do that now.
Okay.
I'm not going to be cute. But anyway, so I was super healthy. So second shot, days, and it was like, boom, neurological. Like I developed a tremor, leg jerks, head jerks. When I finally got the muscle spasm out, it's this burning sensation wrapped around my whole torso. I still feel this to this day. It's getting better, but it went around, and it would come in waves, and it was like ripping through up and down my spine. Like it was like 9 months of this before I went to the hospital. And going to the hospital was the worst thing I could have ever done.
I'm sorry, you were experiencing this for 9 months.
Yeah.
You were going to
so,
doctors.
So I was going to the doctors, and no one knew what was going on. First, they thought it was transverse myelitis. They thought it was MS. They said, "Oh, it's all in your head." Like, because none of the blood tests were indicating anything. So finally, I see a neurologist at Kaiser, and he diagnosed me with an adverse reaction to the COVID vaccine.
How long was this after you had?
This was in March 2022. So I got the shot in August 2021, September 2021.
Okay, and so he said it was from the. But what did he say the condition was? Some kind of neuropathy.
Exactly, it was small fiber neuropathy. But when I asked, he said, "Well, it sounds like you had an adverse reaction to the COVID shot." I said, "Well, what does that mean?" He's like, "Well, don't get another one, and don't get sick." That was the advice he gave me.
You had said earlier you saw my first episode with Dr. Sorosky,
yes,
the neurologist from, right? And he said, if you want to know, you want to talk to people who see vaccine injuries, you talk to neurologists.
He saw it.
And okay, so you
knew.
So you went to so you're at Kaiser. Now you're finally at the neurologist,
right? And
he's telling you maybe it's because he's seen this from other folks.
So I asked him, I said, "How many do you have in your practice?" He said 50. I said, "That doesn't feel very safe or effective."
Well, 50 from COVID vaccine?
Yes, sir.
He said to you?
To me.
That he has 50 people neurological harm from COVID vaccine alone. And this was in?
2022.
In what month?
March 2022. Mm-hmm.
So March of 2022. Okay.
Yeah, he's like, I was
one neurologist, one hospital.
Exactly. I guess he was the main neurologist, but it was really scary.
Surprised he shared that with you?
I was. Now I am when I look back on it.
I'm surprised he shared that with you.
He was the fact that he even gave me a diagnosis that it was actually an adverse event, like an adverse reaction to this technology, was shocking to me. So I have it on my paper.
Did he put it in the notes?
He put it in the notes.
He did?
He put it in the notes.
Wow.
And I thought I had a number. And I sent this to React 19 after, but I guess I didn't. And then in May, I end up in the hospital because I can't take the burning anymore. I can't do it. I don't have medicines because no one was giving me medication to stop the pain. It's all in your head. So I was on psychiatric meds and antidepressants and da-da-da-da-da. This is all in my head, right? So I end up in the hospital. And of course, they ran all the tests and see anything, and they thought I was making it up. So they go through my bags, and then they're looking at me, and I'm looking at my husband, and I'm like, "Babe, I feel like I'm in prison right now. I feel like we're at war." He knows me. He knows I don't complain about stuff, but like he saw how much pain I was in, so he's horrified watching this all. And then they were like, "Well, we want to give you a talk about addiction." I was like, "I know all about addiction. I stopped drinking. I went through the 12 steps. The worst thing I could have ever done," because they were like, "Oh, she's asking for drugs," right? So it was like, stop feeding me, stop giving me water. So anyway, long story short, I will never step foot into another hospital unless I break my arm.
And you never went back?
No, never again. Never again. It'll be very hard for me to go into a hospital. I have PTSD from it.
From that experience.
Because then they also did like spinal tap with 3 different needles because they had the wrong one.
So the problem is obviously, if to the extent they know much about small fiber neuropathy, but I suspect they didn't. Right? I mean, if they're trying to identify an issue in manners, it sounds like that they're not going to find an issue.
Right.
So they didn't find anything.
They did find...
What did they find?
They did find that I had a lesion on my C5, C6.
Uh-huh.
Mm-hmm. And then that's gone away. It's gone away. So I don't know.
And your symptoms?
The symptoms have gotten much better. I found an immunologist that knows exactly what he's doing. So he's tackling the messengers that are overreacting right now in my body. That's why stem cell therapy has been so incredible as well.
When did the improvement start?
Probably last year when I started doing stem cells.
Okay, so leading up to that, what were your worst symptoms?
Neuropathy. It was burning and ripping through my rib cage. That dwindled down a bit, but it still comes back with my menstrual cycle. It was isolated
to your torso area?
Yeah, it's all here. And then the new one is in my chest. So when I flare now, it's all in my chest.
And it feels almost like...
You're on fire.
Is it like you're on fire?
Mm-hmm. Like you're on fire, yeah.
a lot of folks don't know this, but like your nerve endings for pleasure and pain are the same nerve endings, right? So that's why some people feel pleasure when you do, and some people feel pain when you do the very same thing to them. Whereas the nerve endings for heat are separate. So those nerve endings, it sounds like, because you're not, as you know, something about this product causes them to get activated, and I just can't imagine. I mean, I want to hear about what made you better, but before I'll share with you, and I don't know if I've ever told you this. That so we get a lot of calls for vaccine injuries to the firm, right?
Mm-hmm.
Tens of thousands of calls from all vaccines. There's no vaccine that's immune from that regard. And I will say, up until COVID, neuropathies of various kinds, immune-related issues, get that for all vaccines. But we never got a call, as far as I know, where somebody called and said, I got a X vaccine and I feel like my body is on fire, literally on fire. But we have gotten many of those calls from the COVID vaccine. And so this does seem to be something that this product apparently does that is not occurring from other products. And we have our own internal, non-scientific, but that's, so all right. So you've got this burning sensation. Luckily, I'm to look at the silver lining. It's not your whole body, because some of the calls we've gotten, it's like every inch of their whole body.
Right,
it's everything.
For sure.
And so, and Bree Andressen, who,
I love her so much.
Co-director of RAC-19, the organization you work for, she has told me that a number of those folks have killed themselves. Just can't live with it anymore,
because you're getting gaslit to say it's in your head and take this pill, and it exasperates the pain. We just need to be believed, But there's one thing I do want to state very, very clearly to the vaccine injured. Do not make that a choice. Fight. Because we're stronger together, because if you do that, you're letting the people win. That's my opinion. And I think your life is so sacred, and I understand these injuries are so painful, and it's devastating. But we all need each other.
Maybe I shouldn't have brought that up.
No, it's okay.
Agree.
Yeah, no, but I'm glad you did, because it's a very important thing. Because in Canada, it's like, oh, you can't pay your bills, oh, you're vaccinated. Hey, the MAID program, there you go. And there's a whole another thing about that.
Oh,
we could have another show.
I was actually just reading about it this week. But let's leave that alone. And that's another instance where, like we talked about with the doctors that do the transition surgeries, the OBs who are surgeons for the MAID program, is similarly a business, and it's got to feed that business. It is scary.
It is terrifying.
Anyway, and I don't know if you saw the guidance, apparently, and I only saw a snippet of it. I didn't read the whole report, so this may not be accurate, but my understanding is that, if this is correct, that apparently when you use the MAID program, they're not supposed to put that on the death certificate. They're supposed to put whatever it is that got you to use the MAID program. For anybody who doesn't know, the MAID program is like that program where in Canada it's assisted suicide. So you can go in and they'll help you kill yourself. Anyway, all right. So your burning sensation, which obviously, and brain fog, neuropathy,
pain all over my body. Not burning, but like right now my hands hurt, my feet hurt. I feel like I'm 1,000 years old. I know I'm in my 40s, but I don't think it's supposed to feel this way. You know what I mean? I don't want to break a hip when I walk out of this room. You know what I mean? It feels like my body's not mine anymore. Luckily, I got my brain back, but I had like a stammer. That's why everyone thought I had MS.
So, what has the immunologist done that's helped improve your symptoms?
So there's a messenger in your body called the IL-8. And that has been, I guess, the spike protein. I'm probably saying this completely wrong, but it's making it overreact in my body. So modalities like stem cell therapy, I've been doing a lot of that at CPI Stem Cells in Mexico. My friend Ed Clay and Scotty. Miraculous, but it doesn't last because it's not dampering this messenger. So he's put me on a medication that I've been on for about 3 weeks now, and I'm starting to feel a massive difference. But I will tell you, this is the first time in my life that I sat in front of a doctor where I actually believe he knows what he's doing. He has a whiteboard out. He's explaining everything. And for me, obviously I'm from Hollywood. I don't, I try to absorb as much information as I can, and just like learn. I'm educating myself because people are like, you're not a doctor. I was like, yeah, I know. Isn't that crazy? Like, I know more than a doctor.
You're not a doctor, so you don't know that you're actually injured.
Right. Exactly. That's crazy.
You need somebody to tell you.
You need someone to tell you. But what he did say was, he said, you are completely healthy the only thing that's making you not healthy is the spike protein. And he's saying the burning sensation is actually the small capillaries within the intercostal wall that the spike protein is ripping through and creating nerve damage. So it gets reactivated during my menstrual cycle. So it's a lot of fun.
And so and how long have you been seeing this person?
About 3 weeks now.
And that's been very helpful.
It's been incredible. And I've seen him heal injured.
And what
it's
about,
possible.
And he is attributing it to the sequel from the COVID-19 vaccine. What about the immunologist that you were seeing for about a year? What did they do? IVIG or anything like that?
IVIG did not work for me.
Did not work for you?
It did not. It backfired on me.
Really?
This immunologist said if we get to that place where you're going to need IVIG by the time we feel like you're recovered, I'm going to get your body to the place where you can receive it. Right now, my body is just like with the spike protein, it's just like, what's going on, And his modalities are able to damper that. So I'm able to have other modalities that will keep me healthy.
Well, that's great that you found something that helped. That probably gives a lot of hope.
It does, because I'm not educating these doctors. Like the rheumatologist that I saw at UCLA, and I told her, I had 3 days after this shot, this is what happened. Do you think it was the shot? She rolled her eyes at me. And then a year later, after I saw her, she's like, wait, did you get right when I got my diagnosis, she's like, you got diagnosed by a doctor? I said, yeah. She goes, you're not the only one. And I'm like, doc. I'm like, dude, I've been trying to tell you this for and after she took 22 vials of my blood, I'm like, I'm going to fall over after this. But it has just been a really nightmare of a health journey.
The worst year and a half, something ago, percentage improved in terms of the pain experience. How much better?
I'm probably like 40% better.
Okay, well then, that could be the sign of hope that you were trying to send out to others.
100%.
There's hope. There is.
And
I've seen it with folks who are seriously injured vaccines of all kinds.
Yeah.
Where it just seems hopeless, like it'll never improve, and it takes time.
Right.
We represent people who are injured by vaccines, and it just some of the harms are seemed like you're not ever going to come back from it. But
right. Well, and that's the thing. I'm lucky that I'm not wheelchair bound. Right. Working in this space, I've held the hand of a friend of mine. I'm probably going to cry over this one. She couldn't breathe because she had a muscle spasm in her throat. But they did all the tests and everything indicated she was fine. And she's grabbing my hand. I have this video, and they finally got a camera in her throat, and it showed like this much of space airway. So they ended up having cut a hole in her throat.
Oh my!
So it's like these gaslighting tactics. It's just like, oh my God, these injuries are so trivial and complex, and it just takes someone that has the strength and the noodle to actually, focus and understand.
Well, listen, to address an issue, you often have to know what caused it. But to admit that is to admit that the vaccine caused the harm. The thing they told you was safe and effective, which is why so much of the traditional medical establishment doesn't want to do that.
For sure.
And why you find yourself with alternative practitioners who are willing to do that, bravely willing to do that, really. And so I can answer your question now if you want.
Yeah, I want to hear it.
Okay. So, I'll preface it by saying this. At the end of the day, for anybody injured by a COVID vaccine or any other vaccine, for the most part, if you go to a lawyer, any lawyer, they can't heal you. That's not going to make things whole. And a lot of times, you get folks that, they're looking for something to make it better. But all the lawyer can typically do is get some money. And now for some folks, they desperately need it. Single family household, living paycheck by paycheck, the vaccine injury now has taken that the person who's earning the income, being able to do their job, and they don't have a fallback plan really. They desperately need that compensation. So don't get me wrong, I'm not minimizing that at all.
Of course.
But it's never gonna, especially for children, it's never going to, I think, provide the catharsis in a way that's going to make it better that your 5-year-old now suffering for the rest of their life with X issue. With that said, for those injured by COVID-19 vaccine, unfortunately, there is, as you well know, and as most folks know, there's something called the PrEP Act. And the PrEP Act is a law passed by Congress that gives the Secretary of HHS, currently Robert F. Kennedy Jr., the ability to in writing, provide that any countermeasures that are put out for some kind of, national emergency, like they said COVID-19 is, will be given blanket immunity that you can't sue for the injuries. And so at the very, very beginning of COVID-19, they put PrEP Act immunity was granted for these vaccines. The manufacturers of these products knew before they ever sold a single vial to the public that they would never be held accountable for the deaths and injuries that those products would cause. Because not only was the PrEP Act in place, but every single procurement contract that we have gotten a copy of between these companies and the federal government, where the federal government purchased these products, contractually promised them that they would have PrEP Act immunity. They were pre-guaranteed that they would be able to kill and injure with financial impunity.
That feels like a crime against humanity.
It feels dystopian, right? It seems like that can't be real.
It's real.
But that's the reality. And the result of that reality, you can see with the harm and injury all around. Now, if you are, so you can't hold the company that profited in the billions, received often money from our government to make the product, received money from our government to purchase the product, was then given free advertising by our government to promote it by the billions of dollars, and then often mandated by our government for you to take it. And you can't hold them accountable for the injuries. Okay. That might sound unreal too. That's reality. What can you do if you're injured by a COVID-19 vaccine? The only recourse typically you have is to file a claim in something called the CICP, the Counter Injury Compensation Program, the Counter Injury Measure Protection Program. And that is a little program administered by our federal government. And put aside anything else and everything else about that program, they only have last time I checked, $7 million. So how are you going to compensate anybody anyway? You know what they spend most of that money on? Their own staff. So who the heck are they going to compensate with that budget? They don't have money to give anybody anyway. Now, putting that aside, and if you go to most courts, what do you get? You get a judge or a jury, right? You know who's deciding your case. You know who's deciding your case at the CICP? I don't know either.
Oh.
You know why? We FOIA'd Freedom of Information Act, the CICP. We said, who the heck's deciding these cases? You know what they wrote back? They said, well, we're not going to tell you because those folks could be attacked. They're sensitive. So we don't want to tell you because they might get, people say not nice things about them. So we're not going to tell you. And I believe, if I'm not mistaken, we filed a lawsuit in federal court behalf of ICANN supported lawsuit to get those names. And I think a federal judge says, yeah, we don't want to hurt their feelings. So who's the trier of fact? You don't get a jury, forget that. And who's deciding it? You don't know. Okay. And every other judicial proceeding, basic due process requires that you can confront your adversary. If somebody's going to put evidence against you, you get a chance to respond. They're going to put a witness up. You get to hear the witness. You get to respond to the witness. You get to cross-examine them. They're going to put an expert up. You know who the expert is. You get to respond to the expert. You get to put your own expert up, right? That's the normal, the most basic due process afforded. Who are the experts they're using? You know who? I don't know either. You know, and you know who's deciding it? I don't know either. And you know what their reasoning is? Don't know either. And you know how you present your expert in response? You don't. You don't get to. You don't get to cross-examine. There is nothing. There is no process. Zero. And you know how long they have to respond to your claim if you file one? Yeah. There is no time limit. Eternity. You know how long you have to file a claim? 1 year after injury, basically. That's it. So
they make it impossible.
So, and to date, what they've denied like 90 super high percentage of cases, and they've compensated like some ridiculously few and given them basically nothing.
$3,000.
Because let's just say that after you file your claim with what exactly, unclear, and it goes into this black hole, and it's a black hole. If they then decide that, yes, the COVID-19 vaccine is the cause, if you're one of those very, very few people that gets that response letter, and there are very, very few of them, then you know what you get in terms of damages? You are limited to something like, I forgot the exact, I think it's like $50,000 a year in lost wages, and you're out of pocket medical expenses. That's it. That's all you get. So if you're a retiree who's got, Medicare, Medicaid, or insurance, and you had no income, and you've suffered some horrible neuropathy, you're in a wheelchair, you're in constant pain for the next 30 years, you're about to live the best years of your life, want to spend it with your grandkids, with your spouse going on vacation, you now are the most, the most painful existence imaginable. You get nothing. Even if they conclude it, because you've got low lost wages and you have no out-of-pocket medical expenses, most likely. So you don't get any compensation anyway. A reporter from a major news outlet contacted me once and asked me about a lawsuit we filed to declare this program unconstitutional. Because there's that little clause in the Constitution that says that you should be entitled to procedural due process. Are you familiar with this clause? Yeah. Okay. So, and there's like over 200 years of precedent of what that means, right? It comes from old Mother England. This idea of just basic due process, like confront your adversary. What are they saying? Like, who the heck is your judge? The most basic due process. And our argument, and our case is still going on, is that if this program meets procedural due process, then that clause in the U.S. Constitution is meaningless. And because that program is part and parcel of the whole immunity too, we're asking the judge to strike the whole thing down. The whole thing is unconstitutional, right? And that case is still pending. It's going on in Texas, and the stay in that case just got lifted, and we're very hopeful that the judge will rule on it. Because to me, this is an easy case. Yeah. Like there are cases that are more complicated. This one, to me, should be simple. But it's you can imagine the blowback that likely would come from that decision.
For sure.
Big time. Let me tell you what I told a reporter from a mainstream news outlet that called me once about that lawsuit. They said, "Can you describe the program and why you brought the lawsuit?" And here's what I told the reporter. It didn't make it into the article. I said, "Look, let me put this in simple terms for you, okay? Because you're from a major news outlet and you're not interested in the truth anyway."
That's very true.
I said, if you're injured by a COVID-19 vaccine, I said, go get like a crayon or whatever you want. Write something on paper. It doesn't matter what you write, pretty much. Okay. Now go to your backyard, dig a hole, put the paper in the ground, cover the hole. Now, make sure you water it every day and gets a lot of sunlight and wait for the compensation to grow.
Wow.
That's what the CICP is. It is the most immoral, unethical travesty of justice imaginable. At the least, after you have given pharma billions to make the product, after you spent billions to promote it, you've given them immunity, you've given them billions more to pay them for the product. They have made over $100 billion. At the least, those who you told it was safe and effective, you can give them a modicum of compensation for their injury. And maybe more important than the compensation for some is the recognition.
That's where it is.
Is treating them like people, like worthy of recognition and of being accorded appropriate due process.
Right.
Don't believe them, but give them due process. And if you find it causes harm, give them proper compensation. And don't gaslight them, don't disrespect them, don't call them names. You know what I mean? I often tell I've got like 20 folks in my firm that work on vaccine injury cases in the vaccine injury compensation program. We don't do CHP claims. The very few that we've handled are really just where the death certificate said it was a COVID vaccine, and like it just felt like, all right, how could we not bring this claim? Even though I often tell the folks who do that work, the thing that you're often providing is, yes, you might get these folks compensation, but even in that program, it's very limited.
For sure.
So now I'm talking about the vaccine injury compensation program, the VICP versus the CICP.
Okay.
And there it's limited to $250,000 cap on pain and suffering. It's got,
right.
I don't want to go through that one, but that's got a whole lot of problems too.
I have seen that one.
A whole lot of problems. I tell them is that when they get that call from that family who's got an injured kid or they're injured, they went back to their doctor who told them that product is safe. And how were they treated? If they showed up there and said, listen, my kid was in a car accident. My kid got this drug. My kid X. And now something doesn't seem right. Something's not right. Or they've got this issue. They get treated. Say it's from a vaccine, get sent home, just like you did, apparently, get a nasty note in their file, and they'll say that it's basically in their head. So now they get disrespected by the very folks who administer the product. Talk about, that just adds insult to injury and like,
sure.
It's just like, it hurts. It hurts in a different way.
Deeply.
And then they turn on the news, especially 7-8 years ago. They turn on the news. Those people who don't vaccinate, they're selfish. They're horrible. And then they don't want to keep giving their kid the product that hurt them. Well, can't send your kid to school. Can't have a play date with my kids. And so they suffer all these consequences around them. And then finally, they get on the phone with an attorney who says, looked at your records, got your story. Yeah, the vaccine did this based on all the best available evidence that's in front of us. And they're finally heard. They're finally believed. And there's somebody fighting for them. And that fighting for them, I think, means more than often any compensation they obtain.
That's exactly it. Just sitting in front of you right now is like the biggest justice for me to be. No, seriously, because you've been spearheading this in a time where we were silenced. I am still censored. That's why I said I'm a liability going back to the Pussycat Dolls, is because once I post something, I get shadow banned. Any V word, it's like shadow banned, So to just be recognized and then meeting these people in these communities that actually really care, like you actually really do care about humanity. You care about these people that are getting harmed. And not many people are brave enough to do what you do. Or Bobby, too. I think you guys are really special people.
Well, I do think that this is a serious civil rights issue.
For sure.
Like a true civil rights issue, and there's not a lot of folks who are treated in the United States today and in other countries the way the folks who choose not to vaccinate are treated. It's despicable. I have a different story on that I could tell you a different time. But just I appreciate that, but no one person can fix this problem. It requires really a tapestry of folks all working in coordination together to affect this change. RAC 19, the organization you work for, incredible group. Truly incredible.
Yeah.
I mentioned Bree Andressen and Joel Waskog, who are co-founders, I believe. Joel's amazing. First time I met Joel, I was at one of the Senator Johnson's roundtable. We're just sitting next to each other.
I remember that
Yeah, I remember that call too. I remember they were like, you should come down. I was like, I don't know. So I took a red eye and like I really from the plane like rolled into that room.
Wow.
And it was it was surreal sitting around the table and listening to. I'll tell you what was surreal for me about it is that I've been dealing with folks with vaccine injuries for a long time. I mean, long before COVID.
Yeah.
The idea, just the notion, had you told me 3 years prior that there would be a Senate roundtable where doctors, scientists, and a U.S. senator would be talking about vaccine injuries of any kind in the open, I'd been like, I don't know. Are we going to get there in 3 years? It might take longer. And it was right. And there it was. It was happening right there, And I think it really does come down to the fact that COVID-19 was given to 280 million folks,
For sure.
I mean, I've say this data point a lot, but I can't help but repeat it, that in the early 80s, when a child following the CDC schedule got 3 injections on him before the first birthday. That's it.
Yeah.
3 injections. The data reflects under 10% of kids had a chronic health issue in America. Under 10% of kids. Today, a kid following the CDC schedule gets 29 injections, including in utero, on or before their first birthday. 29. And the chronic health rate amongst children is now, according to various data, over 40%. And according to other data, over 50%.
Holy moly.
And what are those chronic health conditions that have exploded over the last 40 years? They're almost all immune-mediated or immune-related disorders.
Breaks my heart.
If you go down the list, asthma, atopic issues, even things like ADHD that people don't associate with, like, what do you mean that's immune-related? When you look at the underlying studies, there are immune markers that are dysregulating kids with ADHD.
For sure.
And people also don't really understand. A lot of people don't know that the immune system and your nervous system are really intertwined.
100%.
And they often can have serious consequences.
That too. Mm-hmm.
Well, it's like 70%, or as it's often stated, right? It matters how you count the immune system.
Right.
But from various perspectives, 70% of your immune system is in the lining of your gut, basically, because that's where, even though a lot of people think of it as inside your body, it's really still outside your body. It's got to get through the intestinal walls to get inside your bloodstream. In any event, okay, well, that's a more somber note too.
Yeah. Well, let me just say one thing. When you guys did that roundtable, I was ostracized from friends, family. No, my reality was shattering, and I'm telling you, that roundtable, it saved my life, and that's how I met Bree. That's why I reached out to React 19. It was because of that roundtable. That's
what got you.
Yep. I knew exactly who you were. I knew exactly who Robert Milne. Everyone. I was just like, I was so, I don't know if Robert was on that one particular, but to find your people in a world where you were just, I was still in Hollywood. So, and people were telling me I was crazy. Doctors were telling me I was crazy, and I was burning, and I was staying up all night, and I came across it looking for conspiracy theory, like UFO videos. I came across the round table.
Yeah.
So it worked out, but that's.
Yeah. Something doesn't seem like a big deal, like tinnitus just ringing in the ears, know?
Right.
That, it just destroys your quality of life.
100%.
And, for anybody out there who's experienced an injury from a COVID-19 vaccine in particular, definitely don't give up hope, and contact React 19.
React19.org, and anyone who wants to donate. It's the only nonprofit I feel like that actually takes care of people so well. Obviously, I can too, but React 19 has given out medical grants when the U.S. government has done nothing.
Well, I'm Focusing Action Network, with a nonprofit that supports a lot of our vaccine policy work, is an amazing organization.
Incredible.
But a lot of the work that they do is focused on exposing the truth, changing cultural cognition,
of course,
as well as actually pushing for rights and for holding the agencies accountable. So it's a different kind of work. Where React 19 is just really just focused on the COVID-19 vaccine injured.
For sure.
And all their money goes, for the most part, as I understand it, just to help the injured. And we're doing a great, we have a project that we're doing right now with React 19 where anybody that was denied by the CICP, there is a provision in that law that allows the Secretary of HHS to reconsider that denial. And so that is an ongoing process where, folks who've been denied are having their cases, repackaged, put back together, and to be properly, hopefully evaluated by the HHS, Secretariat office, rather than this ridiculous black hole CICP office that occurs at something called HRSA, which is the Health Resource and Service Administration, is one of the agencies within HHS, which are unfortunately, the White House gets to pick who the folks who run the places are, and they picked some folks, not folks I would have picked. Let's just put it that way.
That's a shame.
That is a shame because, Anyway, anything else you think we should cover or talk about or address?
Let's see. Well, I don't think so. I was going to say my new pronouns are. Just kidding.
Woman and present.
Well, as women today.
As women today. Oh God, that guy says, you got her face. They're just her face.
And then she just like, yeah.
Says women today. So she just like.
Then Kim was like answering.
You didn't think that when you showed up with only 3 out of last count 5, okay? Because I know there was a 6 before there was a big what have you. Nobody was going to say to you, hey, where are the other 2? Like, you didn't think that question was coming? And your prep was, as women today? Oh, God bless her.
Oh, it was so brilliant, and I wish her so well. But, I'm happy to do things for the vaccine injured, so I appreciate her doing that.
You know what? It probably created a whole news cycle that brought attention to it. So in that way, it was for the best, I guess.
100%.
All right. Well, thanks for sitting down and coming down and doing this together with me.
Absolute honor, Aaron. Thank you so much for having me. Let's sue them. I'm just kidding.
Do not cut that out. Leave that in. I love that. That's the best ending ever.